Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
BB, thank you very much. R2, thank you very much for taking the time out of this busy whirlwind to see me. Well, we don't have much time, so first things first, if I can start with you, BB. What did it feel like being the new generation taking the baton over from R2? Excuse me? I don't know how much time we've got, but if you want, I can. First question first. In one of your previous interviews, the question of authorship came up, of this whole approach of they're making it up as they go along. And that is what creators do. They make things up as they go along.
That's how a story works, yeah. If
you had to address a troll personified on that point, what would you say?
Well, if I'm going to imagine, instead of a troll, a person who cares about Star Wars calmly asking me the question about it. That's nicer to picture than a troll. The way that these stories are being told, film by film, I think is really serving them well and allowing them to organically find their way forward and to go to some surprising places that would not have happened if somebody had just sat down 2 years ago, wrote a big thing on a whiteboard, and we all just had to follow that film by film.
Apart from Rey finding out her relationship to the Force, and she's also learning how to interact with people. What was the realization point about that?
I think Rey is just so lonely, or has been so lonely. And I think if you think about someone in those terms, there's obviously hurdles they're going to have to make in order to build like real relationships. But I think it's sort of wonderful because so much of the time as humans, and I'm pretty direct, so I'd say I'm pretty like her in that respect. We're like, oh, tiptoe around. Like Rey wants Luke to teach her something, so she asks him to teach her something, and there isn't any of the preamble, which I quite like. So she's sort of learning, but her directness, I think, is a blessing in that, because the relationship seemed to form faster and stronger because of that.
I've never seen him as a coward, so this isn't like, obviously the fanboys are plenty in Force Awakens. I've always seen him as a survivor. That tightrope gets walked by Finn. What was it like to sort of explore this different side of Finn?
I think for many people, they were like, yeah, Finn's just always scared of everything, but I guess that's a part of what we're used to in movies. We're used to people just being brave for no reason, running into fires, saving people, because we love watching other people do what we can't do ourselves. Whereas in Finn is us. Finn is what you would really do. You know, you'd probably think twice before following somebody on a death mission, you know, to save the galaxy. You'd consider a lot more things, and I think it's great now exploring bravery, but in a much more natural, grounded way. And I think that's important in a Star Wars film.
You guys are on the bad side of the fence, touching on how it feels to play a villain. For both of you, how did it feel to step into these villainous shoes?
They are rather delicious, they're dark side characters, you know, they're great to get into because you can approach them in so many different ways, but actually, ultimately, you are looking into yourself and looking at your own dark side to connect with that. And so you have to make decisions, otherwise they just become one-dimensional, stereotypical moustache-twirling villains, and you don't want that.
On the other hand, to Snoke and Kylo Ren, the power that Hux has is very different. It's not physical power, he doesn't have the Force, he doesn't have any of that sort of stuff. So it was just about creating somebody who you just wanted to see get hurt, you know, and I think we did that. He's just very into himself, and he's trying so hard to project power, and he's kind of ridiculous in that way, you know, but he's also very dangerous, and I think that's an interesting combination.
In many ways, you're sort of the fans' experience in a Star Wars movie, both on set, what we imagine someone going straight onto a Star Wars set would be like, as well as on screen, interacting, like, it's you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that, about both the screen and the set experience as a fan?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely got really lucky in that I feel like someone just gave me the golden ticket, and I was allowed to run around the chocolate factory for the entire time that we were filming. Even if I wasn't working, I'd go to watch people act, or I'd go to the art department or the creatures department, or I would just explore. And it was such a wonderful time. I was learning so much, and I was able to work with so many amazing people. And then, yeah, that character as well. Like you said, when she first meets Finn, he's such a big deal to her. And he sort of represents this idea that she believes in so much. He represents the resistance, and that's a cause that she believes in more than she probably believes in herself. And so, yeah, the whole thing has been a pretty incredible experience for me.
With duality of characters, good and bad and everything being so inherent in this movie, DJ, your character, is in many ways, do we trust him or don't we? Can you talk a bit about the vocal delivery and how it related to your character's nature?
Usually people that excel at something might be dysfunctional in other things. I'm good at stuff and I'm terrible at other things. I don't know how to explain it with myself, but he's a master code breaker, so he's incredible with his fingers and the codes and all that stuff. And you know, I just felt like giving him that impediment would maybe show that that's what triggered his genius in another area.
If you had to choose between Game of Thrones or General Phasma, is there a preference of which of the two characters you'd like to act in a solo standalone feature?
Oh, that's a difficult question. That's a very difficult question. Because I have such a long history with the character I play in Game of Thrones, with Brienne of Tarth. And I have such an emotional attachment to that character too, because it changed my life. But I have to say that I'm finding Captain Phasma quite exciting, this idea of the mystery of who she is and where she comes from. And what I'm really enjoying about the character is that she exhibits such malevolence, and that is not common for a female character in film. I'm going to say Captain Phasma.
How did Luke's disillusionment hit you or feel, given the paper?
You speculate, what are they going to come up with for the story? And like I said, my son knows more about Star Wars than I did. He said, hey, Dad, in this one novel, you're so powerful as a Jedi, it's like you can wield 6 lightsabers in each arm. And I said, oh, if they do that, all I have to do is put my arms behind my back in green screen and they'll put it all in. So I imagine being super powerful and force lightning and boulders flying out of my way. But, you know, the problem is, Ryan said we can't do anything that's been done before. And it seems like they've done pretty much everything. You ever hear the story of them cloning an evil Luke from the severed hand? Who wouldn't want to pay their own evil twin? Oh, that's rich. But it's not Luke's story anymore, so I'm glad to be even a small part of it.
Your experience of Luke is obviously goodness on one side, and the Joker, it had to come up, is the polar opposite. To merge those two, could you say, as the Joker, may the Force be with you?
We'll have to finish now, I'm afraid. We've run out of time. I'm so sorry.
Quiet. May the Force be with you!
This is not going to go the way you think.